The phone rang in a quiet kitchen in Manchester, New Hampshire, on a snowy Sunday morning in January 2024. It was a landline, a relic that mostly connected the elderly to the outside world. The woman who answered, a retired schoolteacher named Kathy, pressed the receiver to her ear and froze. "What a bunch of malarkey," the voice on the other end said. It was unmistakable. The gravelly cadence, the slightly rushed delivery, the familiar Delaware drawl. It was the President of the United States. "It's important that you save your vote for the November election," the voice continued, intimate and urgent. "Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans in their quest to elect Donald Trump again." Kathy hung up, confused. Why would the president tell her not to vote in the primary? It felt wrong, but it sounded so right. She wasn't alone. Across the state, between 5,000 and 25,000 other voters were receiving the same call. In campaign offices, phones began to light up. Panic set in. Political operatives scrambled to find the source, but the ghost was already in the machine. This wasn't a broadcast from the Oval Office. It was a digital specter conjured by a magician named Steve Kramer, a political consultant. Steve Kramer, a political consultant who had paid a magician's fee, less than $500, to a company using tools that didn't exist a decade ago. With a few clicks, he had hijacked the voice of the most powerful man on earth and weaponized it against the democratic process. This moment was not an anomaly. It was the opening salvo of a new era. We have left the age of information and entered the age of synthetic reality. To understand how we arrived at this precipice, we have to look back to a bar in Montreal in 2014. It was there that a young doctoral student named Ian Goodfellow had an argument with his friends. They were debating how to make computers generate realistic images. His friends proposed complex statistical mapping. Goodfellow suggested a duel. He went home and coded a system where two neural networks competed against each other. One, the generator, tried to create a fake image. The other, the discriminator, tried to spot the forgery. If the generator failed, it learned and tried again. If it succeeded, the discriminator learned and got tougher. They were locked in a mathematical arms race, pushing each other toward perfection. Goodfellow called them generative adversarial networks, or GANs. For years, GANs were the toys of academics. The images they produced were postage stamp-sized, blurry, and nightmarish, faces with 3 eyes or melting skin. But the curve of exponential technology is deceptive. It looks flat until it becomes a vertical wall. By 2019, the tech had evolved. By 2023, it had mutated. New architectures like diffusion models, the engine behind Midjourney and DALL-E, replaced GANs for image generation, allowing for high-fidelity photorealism from simple text prompts. Voice cloning, once requiring hours of studio audio, could now be achieved with 3 seconds of reference tape. The barrier to entry collapsed. What once required a Hollywood visual effects studio and a budget of millions could now be done by a teenager in a basement or a political operative in a strip mall. The consequences of this democratization hit the world with the force of a physical blow in the fall of 2023, just months before the New Hampshire robocall. In Slovakia, a NATO member state bordering Ukraine, the stakes were existential. The parliamentary election was a dead heat between a pro-Western liberal party and a populist party sympathetic to Moscow. 2 days before the vote, during a legally mandated 48-hour media blackout, a recording surfaced on Facebook and Telegram. It sounded like Mikhail Shemechka, the leader of the Liberal Party, talking to a prominent journalist. They were discussing buying votes from the country's marginalized Roma minority. They joked about rigging the election. The audio was a fabrication, a deepfake. But the timing was a masterstroke of asymmetric warfare. The media blackout meant journalists couldn't debunk it on air. The politicians couldn't hold press conferences to deny it. The lie raced through the bloodstream of the Slovakian electorate unchecked. Shemechka lost. The populist Robert Fico won. While analysts debate the precise impact of the audio on the final tally, the psychological damage was absolute. A precedent had been set. Truth could be assassinated 48 hours before a vote, and the correction would arrive too late to matter. This is the liar's dividend, a concept coined by researchers like Kalen Jackson Schiff. It describes a double-edged sword. On one side, bad actors can manufacture scandals. On the other, Guilty politicians can dismiss real evidence, video of them taking a bribe or audio of a racist remark, by simply claiming it's a deepfake. The mere existence of the technology provides a universal alibi. When everything could be fake, nothing is accepted as real. The financial markets, usually colder and more rational than voters, proved just as brittle. On a Monday morning in May 2023, an image circulated on Twitter showing a massive plume of black smoke rising from the Pentagon. It was grainy, framed like a breaking news photo. Verified accounts with blue checkmarks, recently sold to anyone with $8, shared it. Russian state media amplified it. For 10 minutes, the world held its breath. The S&P 500 dipped, wiping out billions of dollars in market capitalization. Algorithms, reading the panic in social media sentiment, triggered sell orders. It was a hallucination. The building in the photo didn't even match the Pentagon's architecture. The fence blended into the pavement in the telltale smear of AI incompetence. But the damage was real. The incident revealed a terrifying fragility in our systems. If a blurry fake image could move the stock market, what could a high-definition video of a Federal Reserve chairman declaring a bank run do? Behind the scenes, a desperate technical arms race is underway. It is a game of cat and mouse, where the mouse is on steroids and the cat is blindfolded. The primary defense mechanism proposed by tech giants is watermarking, embedding an invisible signal into AI-generated content. Companies like Google and OpenAI have championed this in white papers and press releases. The idea is that a detector can scan an image or audio clip and reveal its synthetic origin. But the reality, detailed in paper after paper on the preprint server Arxiv, is grim. Researchers have repeatedly demonstrated that these watermarks are incredibly fragile. A washing attack, simply compressing a photo, rotating it slightly, or adding a grain filter, can scrub the watermark clean while leaving the image visually unchanged. For audio, adding background noise or changing the pitch by 1% is often enough to fool the detectors. More robust solutions, like the C2PA, Coalition for Content Provenance and Authenticity Standard, take a different approach. Instead of trying to detect fakes, they try to verify reality. They propose a chain of custody for digital media, where a camera cryptographically signs a photo the moment it is taken, and every edit is logged in a tamper-proof manifest. It is a noble effort, supported by Adobe, Microsoft, and the BBC, but it suffers from a fatal flaw, the analog hole. If I take a photo of a real screen displaying a deepfake, the camera will truthfully sign the photo as real. The chain of custody is broken before it even begins. Furthermore, social media platforms, the primary vectors of disinformation, often strip this metadata to save space, rendering the protection useless. We are drifting toward a philosophical crisis. The danger of deepfakes in politics isn't just that they will fool us. It is that they will make us cynical. If a voter sees a video of a candidate saying something outrageous, their reaction shifts from shock to a shrug. It's probably AI, they say, and scroll past. This apathy is the death knell of accountability. In a world where evidence is optional, tribalism is the only solid ground. We believe the fakes that confirm our biases and reject the truths that challenge them. The response from governments has been slow and fragmented. The European Union has taken the lead with the AI Act, specifically Article 50, which mandates that AI systems interacting with humans must be transparent. If a machine is talking to you, it must declare itself. China has rolled out even stricter deep synthesis provisions, requiring watermarking and holding platforms liable for the content they host. In the United States, the approach has been reactive. The FCC fined the perpetrators of the Biden robocall $6 million, but only after the damage was done. State legislatures are patching together a quilt of laws, but the technology moves faster than the legislative calendar. By the time a law is debated, passed, and enacted, the AI models have already jumped 2 generations. So where does that leave us? If the technology is unstoppable and the detection is fallible, is the war lost? Not necessarily, but the strategy must shift. We cannot tech solution our way out of a problem that is fundamentally human. The resolution lies not in a better algorithm, but in a new form of civic literacy. We must move from a posture of blind trust to one of verified provenance. Just as we learned to look for the padlock icon in a browser bar before entering a credit card number, We must learn to look for the cryptographic signature on a news clip. We must demand that our platforms preserve this data rather than strip it. But more importantly, we must inoculate our minds. The resolution to this story is not a tool you can download. It is a philosophy of strategic skepticism. It is the pause before the share. It is the understanding that if something triggers a visceral emotional reaction, fear, rage, validation, it is likely designed to do exactly that. The tools to verify, to check metadata, and to cross-reference sources exist. They are powerful, and they are available to those willing to use them. But they are useless without the will to seek the truth. The era of seeing is believing is over. We are now in the era of verifying is believing. The uncanny valley is deep and dark, but we can build bridges across it. We just have to be willing to check the blueprints. For those ready to equip themselves for this new reality, the technical specifics and the research underpinning this investigation are cataloged below.